and Storm Team 6 working for you. This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
Now at 11, party panic. 7 people shot during a Muncie house party. What we know about the suspect and why police say he opened fire. Plus, a baby is found dead inside of a car in Indianapolis. Just ahead, we've got details on that investigation. And trouble at the track. See the moment a fan favorite driver slams into the wall as racers jockey for a spot in next weekend's Indianapolis 500. The news at 11 starts right now. And the big story we're following tonight, the weather, it's heading our way, and it could be setting us up for a stormy Sunday. Good evening, I'm Trevor Shirley. Kyle Mounts is here. And Kyle, this is not the kind of forecast we want for any Sunday, but especially qualification weekend.
Yeah, today they had some heat and a little wind to deal with. Tomorrow, I think quite a bit of rain and some thunderstorms.
Could be a different story.
Yeah, we're going to be probably seeing a lot of rain delays, not only for heading out to the Motor Speedway, but any activities. Show you the big picture tonight, and you can see there is some rain back to the west around the Mississippi River. Earlier, those were some severe storms, but they've lost all the severity. And in fact, we are going to stay dry and quiet here across central Indiana. These are some false echoes up around Fowler and portions of White County. Still warm out there tonight, 74 in Indianapolis and Bloomington, upper 60s for you in Kokomo as we keep that east and southeast breeze going around 10 miles per hour. Tonight, not going to cool very much at all, down to 68 with those partly cloudy skies. And again, it is a quiet night. Tomorrow, a different story. That slight risk, or basically the second level here on our severe weather threats of seeing some of those strong to severe storms. We'll talk about the primary threats and the timeline in just a little bit.
All right, Kyle, we'll see you in just a bit. Thank you. Well, what was supposed to be a fun ending to the week ended in gunfire after police say 7 people were shot during a Muncie house party late last night. All of this happening not far from the campus of Ball State University. Now tonight, a teenager is accused of pulling the trigger. RTV6's Derek Thomas reports the neighborhood has been rattled by the violence.
There was a party at this house in the 2400 block of West Euclid. It's close to the Ball State campus. It was loud and got out of hand. Kristen Hoover was at a house down the street and called police.
As I was on the phone with 911, that's when the shots rang out, and there were 2 sets of shots that rang out, and so that was scary. And there were kids running down the street, and all of a sudden there was just so much commotion on this cul-de-sac. I've never, having lived here and grown up here, I never saw that kind of commotion on this cul-de-sac.
By the time police arrived, the shooting was over. 7 people had been wounded. 2 were listed in critical condition. Under arrest is 19-year-old Vashawn Harnett. He is not a Ball State student. He is charged with 2 counts of attempted murder. According to court documents, Harnett had a long-standing beef with one of the shooting victims. That beef escalated outside the party, and Harnett allegedly shot him 3 times.
Did you hear anything?
Yeah, I was awake when it happened.
Cassie Ammon had been invited to the party. She's glad she didn't go. She's lived right next door for over 4 years. The folks in the party house had just moved in.
I think it was kind of like a freak occurrence in a way. I'm not super fearful of what happened, I guess. It's kind of scary that it happened so close, I guess. I don't really know what to think about it.
Taylor Beachy lives down the street, and she knows what to think.
Yeah, it is kind of concerning just because I wouldn't have imagined this happening in the neighborhood, especially it being so close to Ball State. It is kind of concerning that there was just so much violence happening in an area where there are a lot of families and stuff.
Harnett is held without bond in the Delaware County Jail, while the community tries to recover. In Muncie, Derek Thomas, RTV6.
And Ball State President Jeffrey Mearns issuing a statement saying, quote, "This is a very unfortunate event. We wish all the victims a full and prompt recovery." Well, some sad news tonight. We know a baby has died after being found inside of an SUV earlier today. Police say they were called out to an auto zone in the 3800 block of East Washington Street just before 5 o'clock this evening. That baby was responsive when unresponsive when emergency crews got there. That baby later died at Riley Hospital. The child's mother was taken in for questioning. An autopsy is scheduled for Monday to figure out exactly how and why that baby died. In the meantime, if you've got any information that could help police, you're asked to give IMPD a call. Also this evening, a young Indianapolis boy is getting his community on its feet and walking to stop gun violence. Take a look. 10-year-old Reese Hamilton organized another one of his peace walks for today. The event happened near 30th and Dearborn. Hamilton has organized other peace walks in the past. He says the goal of all this is pretty simple: to get neighbors outside walking and talking so gun violence doesn't keep the community gripped in fear.
Because I feel like that I need to stop gun violence, to stop all violence. That's why I'm doing this, and I'm doing it for my cousin Cheese because he died from gun violence too.
I definitely believe that this is one of the ways we bridge gaps and bridges within our community, and definitely to have a youth do it, it's a great impact for our community on both ends.
And we could use some more kids like him out there in the community. Hamilton says he plans to organize other peace walks too. He also hopes his community can see that he's trying to do something positive. And tonight, the abortion debate is shaping up to be a key issue in the 2020 presidential campaign. This as more and more states are passing bills restricting access to abortions. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott with what this means for the upcoming election season.
The debate over abortion has renewed political battle lines, moving the polarizing issue of women's reproductive rights to the center of the 2020 election. Just 2 days after Alabama banned almost all abortions in the state, Missouri lawmakers said they are ready to give the okay in their state too. Missouri passed an anti-abortion bill of its own, banning nearly all abortions after 8 weeks of pregnancy. 2020 Democratic candidates responded in outrage.
We must come together to declare that reproductive rights are human rights. They are civil rights, and they are non-negotiable.
Democratic candidate Senator Elizabeth Warren unveiled an abortion rights platform following the new laws. The crowded field of Democrats mostly united in their stance, but at odds with the current administration.
I couldn't be more proud to be part of an administration that has stood strong on the timeless values that have made this nation great, and stood without apology for the sanctity of human life.
More than a dozen states have passed laws restricting abortion. A 2018 ABC News Washington Post poll asked Americans if the Supreme Court should make it harder to get an abortion. 30% said yes, while 21% said they'd like to see it get easier. But most Americans, at 45%, said they'd like it to remain just the same. Rachel Scott, ABC News, the White House.
And it was a hot and sunny day out at the Speedway for the first day of qualifying for the Indianapolis 500. 36 drivers all battling it out for 33 spots in that race. Now, the first 45 minutes of the morning actually turned out to be the fastest of the day. Spencer Piggott ran the fastest 4-lap average of the day, one of just 2 drivers to average more than 230 miles an hour. He's going to be joined by 8 other drivers in the Fast 9 shootout. That's happening on Sunday. In the meantime, here's Dave First with more on all of this from the Speedway.
Wrapping up day 1 of qualifying here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Tony Kanon, Dave First. The story, not really who's in the Fast 9, which may or may not happen tomorrow with the weather, but 2 guys specifically who did not make the last row. Yet, anyway. James Hinchcliffe, Fernando Alonso. Take a look at the accident. Lap 2. Turn 2 for James Hinchcliffe in his qualifying run today. The back end just came around. He's along for the ride.
Yeah, when that happens, you're in qualifying trim, and there's nothing you can do about it.
How much the conditions play a factor?
Oh, big time. We had conditions today that we didn't have all week, so nobody was prepared for that.
So James Hinchcliffe, he's okay. That's the good news. Came out of the medical center. They got a backup car ready. This is the car they ran the IndyCar GP a week ago Saturday. Obviously, it's a much different. It's a road course car. So things need to be done to it that perhaps they didn't have a chance to do.
Correct.
To get ready for the Oval.
They're going to massage that car tonight, and I'm pretty sure tomorrow, if weather permits, I think he will be in the show.
And that's exactly what James Hinchcliffe was talking about afterwards.
You know, it was the road course car, so that doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that the Speedway cars have, and we just didn't have the time to rub on it the way that we want to. So, you know, a year ago today, it was the end of the road for us with the rules this year. We've got another shot tomorrow. We'll take a good hard look at everything.
And then there's the 2-time world champion, Fernando Alonso. First attempt had a cut right rear tire, which is probably the last thing you want to do when you're going 230 miles an hour around here.
You don't want to do that.
But then He tried to get back out, had a second attempt, third attempt, fourth attempt, fifth attempt. Was never fast enough.
No, which is, look how different it is from 2 years ago, right? He came in on a very good car, and I mean, he looked extremely stressed and disappointed, and it's hard. I mean, it's not easy. The series is being more competitive every year, and then you see it. I mean, it's hard.
We talked about it last week, and Elio came to you last week and said, man, everyone's up their game in this series. It's amazing.
And look at Elio here today.
Yeah.
He didn't make it a fast 9 either. It's been tougher, man. We went quicker in qualifying than last year. And we qualified 4 positions worse. 6 positions worse.
Yeah. Qualifying day 2 tomorrow. Fast 9 shootout. Last row shootout. Weather permitting. For Tony Kanan, I'm Dave First from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
All right, Dave, thanks. Now, here's a look at tomorrow's schedule. Again, all of this dependent on whether or not the weather is going to hold up. So right now, the last row and Fast 9 drivers are each going to get 30 minutes for qualifying. The slowest 6 cars will bump for the back row at 12:15. The top 9 will run for the pole position starting at 1:15 in the afternoon, and then the day's going to wrap up around 3:15 with practice for the entire field of 33 drivers. Again, all of that dependent on weather conditions. If you want to get out there, gates open bright and early at 9 a.m. And speaking of getting in on the action, race action that is, active military and members should listen up to this. If you want to score tickets for the month of May events for free, we've got details right now. Up to 5,000 tickets are available. They're being given out by Group 1001. That's the parent company of the Indy 500's main sponsor, Gainbridge. For more information on how to pick up some of these event tickets, you can head over to our website, theindychannel.com. And coming up, a high school coach saves the day after he tackles a would-be shooter. Now the community is hailing him a hero. Plus, it's a wacky police chase, and where else would it happen but Florida? We've got the video you've got to see where the suspect actually steals a police car and then tears off.
And we've got some storms coming our way. That's going to be the dividing line between the summer heat we had today and a much cooler feel next week. We'll time this out and talk about the storm threats. You're watching RTV6 News at 11.
At Ross, yes for less.
This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
Well, tonight, an Oregon high school coach is being hailed a hero after tackling a student who walked into class armed with a rifle. Authorities say that coach likely prevented a potential tragedy. Tonight, here's ABC's Marcy Gonzalez. She's got details.
Police in Oregon say this is the student who walked into a classroom Friday armed with a shotgun.
This is possibly going to be an active shooter now at Park Rose High School. Need more cars.
The suspect identified as 18-year-old Angel Diaz, a senior at Park Rose High School, accused of flaunting that weapon, sending classmates scrambling to hide.
It was actually kind of scary. First time, seeing like a shotgun, right in front of you. Any minute you can turn it, pull the trigger.
But before anyone was injured, police say Diaz was brought to the ground, tackled in a hallway by the school's head football coach, Keenan Lowe. The former University of Oregon star player being called a hero, holding the suspect until officers arrived.
He's very passionate in whatever he does, and I really thank him a lot.
Thank you for keeping all the students at Park Rose safe.
Diaz's friends say they'd noticed him acting differently lately, describing him as depressed after a breakup.
We tried to call him, and we didn't get anything, and nobody had seen him. And so when we finally did get the word that it was kind of heartbreaking.
Diaz now in police custody, facing several charges, including attempting to discharge a firearm at a school and reckless endangerment, while tonight his friends attend their senior prom.
After this situation, I think when I start seeing signs of, depression or hostility, I should probably take it up to the counselor. So I think I learned something from this.
Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles.
All right, and here's a story of the night that's worthy of a double take. Florida troopers with guns pointed at their own cruiser, but the man inside was not one of them. Take a look. Police say it all began when Highway Patrol tried to help a guy that they found walking along the Florida Turnpike, shirtless and barefoot. But after about 20 minutes, a man jumps into the patrol car and then takes off. Traffic thankfully forces him to stop, and officers then approach the car with their guns out. But again, this guy takes off, speeding speeding down the shoulder until he's blocked by other police cruisers. Still, that is not enough to get him to stop. He turns around and drives off in the opposite direction. He eventually slams into a guardrail. Then he gets out on foot, jumps the median right there, and takes off into the woods. Police were able to catch up with him about 15 minutes later. Turns out he didn't want to get caught. He was wanted in a carjacking that had happened the day before. And sightseers in the heart of one of New York City's top tourist attractions got an eyeful today. A giant electronic billboard in Times Square caught fire. Thankfully, fire crews were able to put out that blaze before it spread to the building that sign is attached to. So far, we've got no reports of any injuries, although at this point, fire investigators haven't been able to figure out exactly what sparked that blaze.
Things are pretty quiet here across central Indiana, feeling like summer earlier today as we made it to 85 degrees, just 5 degrees away from that record set back in the 1960s. And we're going to keep things quiet and a little bit toasty overnight tonight. Most areas still into the 70s. You're still close to 80 degrees in Muncie. You're in the upper 60s right now in Kokomo. And by tomorrow morning for your Sunday, we're going to start off in the mid to upper 60s. So it is going to be a very mild start. And we talked about it heading off to the Motor Speedway tomorrow for qualifications. It is going to be a challenge there with scattered showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. We may have some windows of dry time, but you know they got to dry out that track too. Temperatures will be held back because of all the rain activity. We're only in the 70s tomorrow. So let's look closer at that timeline for the rain and thunderstorms to move through. And this is the latest run of TrueCast in within about the last hour, and it has kind of sped up the timeline as far as some of those stronger storms. Here's TrueCast, 9:30 in the morning. Already some rain that's moving through. And by about 11 o'clock in the morning, that's where it's starting to produce some of those stronger storms. So maybe late morning into the early afternoon now, where we've got that potential for some of those storms to be on the strong to severe side. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you can see pretty much everyone fair game for some rain, some downpours, and some thunderstorms. And then as we go into the evening hours, becoming a little more scattered as the bulk of the activity moves into Ohio. Main focus for us is going to be some gusty winds. Isolated tornado threat, could have some hail in there as well. And we'll watch out for some localized flooding because you get under a couple of thunderstorms. You could easily see over an inch to possibly an inch and a half of rainfall tomorrow. So make sure you got the RTV6 app and the Storm Shield app ready to go on your mobile phone. That Storm Shield app will send you any alerts for your location if they're issued tomorrow for watches and any warnings. 80s today. Tomorrow will be into the middle 70s for highs. And then behind that system that brings the thunderstorm activity tomorrow, quite a bit cooler by Monday. We're at 67 for the afternoon high, but it doesn't last long. We're warming up quickly by the middle of the week. 7-day planning forecast, put it all together for you, and we do dry things out on Monday and Tuesday. When those 80s return, so does the chance for showers and storms.
All right, Kyle, thanks. We'll take it. Well, coming up, we continue to look back at the 70-year history of WRTV6. Just ahead, we catch up tonight with former reporter Julie Pursley as she remembers reporting the news throughout central Indiana.
Buy or lease a new 2019 Atlas.
All right, well, as we continue to celebrate 70 years on the air here at WRTV6, one of the fun parts of this process is getting to catch up with former staffers about their favorite memories of their time here at Channel 6. Tonight, we're catching up with former reporter Julie Pursley, who herself grew up here in central Indiana. She had the opportunity to watch Channel 6 long before she got to work here. Then the people she grew up watching actually became her friends and co-workers.
Never forget, on my first day here, I called my mom and said, I cannot believe this. I am sitting next to Derek Thomas, Norman Cox, Jack Reinhart, Ben Morriston, Cy Jenkins, Clyde and Dion. I just felt like I was in this room of rock star journalists who I had watched growing up, and I just felt really honored to be in their presence. But I always tried to learn from them as well. But I think probably the two that really stand out, who always seemed to give advice whether or not they knew they were at the time, it would be Jack Reinhart and Derek Thomas. And whether or not they knew it, I was always watching them, seeing how they approached people, how they were searching for facts and compiling information and presenting it to the viewer. And I really feel like I learned a lot from them. I still have a lot of very good friends that I made here at Channel 6. And oddly enough, I feel like I made a lot of friends in the viewers. I still have people come up to me almost every day. My kids get a little tired of it sometimes, but people approach me, and it's just a real honor because they say, I feel like I know you, and I love when people come up and say hi.
Always fun to hear stories like that. Julie left RTV6 just last year to start a new chapter outside of TV news. She's now a communications manager for Community Hospital North. And we're going to continue to look back daily about the past 70 years, all leading up to May 30th. That's when former anchors Clyde Lee and Dion Willis lead us in a 1-hour special at 7 p.m. It's called 70 Years Together, RTV6 Working for You. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and we sure do hope you tune in and join us. Well, more people visit amusement parks each year than they do art galleries and museums. That's according to the educational website Learner. Tonight, Annie Taylor shows us an amusement park ride that's focused on bridging the gap between art and thrills.
When you think of amusement parks, you think of roller coasters, you think of funnel cakes, and you definitely think of games, but you don't necessarily think about art. Now, there is one amusement park who's changing the way we experience dark rides.
It is very visually dense. There's lots of colors and shapes and lights and all kinds of things going on.
This is Kaleidoscape.
So the beginning of the wallpaper, they start as flat.
Taking riders along the birth of a new world.
And then they become more and more 3D.
Less based on the thrill of the ride, and it's more of the narrative, sculpture, and content in the ride.
Elitch Gardens Amusement Park in Denver is partnering with Meow Wolf, an immersive, interactive art installation located in Santa Fe.
I love Meow Wolf because I have no idea what is going to happen around the corner.
Meow Wolf's co-founder, Matt King, says audiences can immerse themselves into fantastic realms of story and exploration. Kaleidoscape is the first art-focused ride.
Elitch Gardens is obviously a non-traditional art space, and it's just such a fun place to work because the rules of a gallery or museum don't necessarily apply here.
Meow Wolf's team in Santa Fe reached out to local artists in Denver.
Many of the Meow Wolf team on this side,
like Frankie Tone, to help in the design. The ride is broken up into different phases of creation.
Continues into this overloaded, just amazingly vibrant world where there's landscapes, and the landscapes turn into creatures, and the creatures turn into beings.
The free-spirited, colorful, thought-provoking art of Meow Wolf is changing the way people see art.
They get people who maybe don't normally go to see art, especially in a gallery or museum setting. They get to experience really contemporary, really lively art in a non-traditional space.
Welcome back, riders. I'm Annie Taylor reporting.
Cool stuff. Might have to check that up when we come back. A final check of your weather and your Sunday forecast.
Now at Ashley Home Store, this is home.
Well, could we be seeing a future Indy 500 winner? It was definitely a possibility earlier today at the Indianapolis Soapbox Derby's Mayor's Cup race. Take a look. The annual race happening at the Wilbur Shaw Memorial Hill. That's over near 30th and Cold Springs Road. Organizers say the family-friendly event gives inner-city kids a chance to race. That's an opportunity that they might not normally have. Now, the event is put on by the Indianapolis Inner-City Youth Racing League. It also pairs kids up with mentors who help them build their race cars and then send them down the hill. And those kids were having some pretty good luck with the weather today. Not sure if the big-time drivers are going to be so lucky tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to be racing against a lot of rain tomorrow, I think. Some areas could pick up over an inch of rainfall with those showers and storms throughout the day. Cooler with highs only in the 70s, and even cooler still on Monday at 67.
All right, so pack those rain jackets if you're heading out to the track tomorrow. Kyle, thank you. And thank you for watching tonight. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Have a good night.